Today on the My Money Show, living in a van down by the river, why people are ditching their homes and apartments for van life. But not just any vans, tricked out apartments on wheels. And how you could save thousands with health savings accounts. Why most people aren't using them to their full potential. Plus how paying in cash can help fix your budget. Also car vending machines. It's all coming up on My Money. Welcome to the My Money Show, where we tell you how to make money, save money, invest money, and spend money, because that's what it's there for, right? People often say that you shouldn't talk about money, but here we do the exact opposite, because we feel that the more we talk about it, the less scary and confusing it will be. So we can help more people make smart decisions with their hard-earned money, especially now with inflation, where your dollar doesn't go as far as it used to, which has a lot of people coming up with creative ways to save a buck. One idea that popped up during the pandemic is people ditching their homes and apartments for a life on the road. With so many people working from home, suddenly they weren't tied down to one place. They could live anywhere they wanted. So a growing number of people are living in vans and RVs. This was a huge fad back in the 60s, with people living in those big Volkswagen vans, living on beaches and state parks, but it's making a comeback. So we decided to take a deep dive into the world of van life to see what it's all about.
Living in a van down by the river!
This classic Saturday Night Live sketch might come to mind when someone says the words van life.
Welcome to our home.
Or you might think of this. Tiny houses on wheels, with some even taking their kids along for the ride.
The next area of the van is what we like to call Hunter's Room.
And many are sharing their story on social media.
Am I crazy? Yeah, maybe a little bit.
People like Mav, a Minnesota native who even sleeps in his truck in the dead of winter.
The coldest I've camped in this one so far has been negative 12 degrees.
His YouTube channel has nearly 2 million followers.
So this is the main door.
Where he gives viewers an inside look at life on the road.
Pull this little switch here. It extends out into a full size, halfway between a king and a queen.
For some people, this lifestyle is a hard no. But for others,
oh, whoa, what is this? And he just freaked out.
It's a dream come true.
It allows people to explore and get outside in a whole new way.
Ben Gleason and Jason Gilbrath are the co-owners of Vanna in Moorhead, Minnesota, where they build custom vans for people to live in.
When the pandemic happened, camper vans specifically, the demand for that about quadrupled.
They started the company last February, and within weeks, they already had more customers than they could handle. So they hired 8 full-time employees, and they still can't keep up.
Right now, we're booking out for January 2023 start dates.
This year, they're hoping to build 16 vans, but 2 years from now, their business plan is to have enough staff and space to handle more than 100 vans a year. Some even have solar panels and high-efficiency heaters that are so efficient, the guys say it can heat the entire van for 24 hours and use less than 1/10 of a gallon of gas.
Camper vans offer that kind of tiny home on wheels feel.
And yes, they even come with a bathroom, a shower with hot water, and a toilet that operates sort of like a diaper genie, collecting the waste in a bag underneath that you can easily throw away.
This is just a shell right now.
This is how every van starts. An empty canvas where people like Catherine and Tom Gay can create the van of their dreams.
Cabinets over the top here, and then the sink and stove. And then right in the middle here where there'll be 2 benches that face each other, and then they'll flip and make into a king-size bed. And then there'll be the wall roughly where the wheel wells are. There'll be a small little sink, Lovato toilet, 24 by 36 shower.
The plan is to have it done by the end of July, so Tom and Catherine can go on some adventures.
Probably a couple weeks at a time.
Just to start out, but eventually.
I would like to sell our house.
Now, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, how much does something like this cost? Well, the guys tell me that the van itself, brand new, will cost you between $50,000 to $60,000. You can save a little bit of money if you buy a used one. Now, the build-out will cost you between $40,000 and $200,000. So everything all together with the project, the van out the door, the guys tell me that the average van they've done so far will set you back between $120,000 and $180,000.
It's been amazing.
Haley Kramer was one of Vanna's first customers.
Here's the kitchen.
She works remotely and was looking for an affordable way to travel the country while she worked.
Some of my road trips are anywhere from 2 to 4 months long.
She loves the freedom to get up and go wherever she wants, but this lifestyle does come with some challenges.
It's definitely small. And then also like the water, you have limited water. Sometimes parking can be hard to find. Sometimes it's illegal to sleep on streets.
That's why she recommends trying it out for a weekend or two before buying your own. Because the YouTubers might make it look easy.
Pretty much everything is in here except I keep my kitchen in the back seat.
It's not. And it's not for everyone.
Some people would maybe say it's crazy, but there's a lot of people that want to travel in a new way.
Okay, so I know some of you are like, where can I sign up? This looks great. I want to hit the road right now. And the rest of you are like, I think I'll keep my nice warm house. It's definitely an adjustment, but the big question we have is, can you actually save money? We're going to find out in this week's breakdown. Now, in the story, I mentioned how one of these really nice vans out the door will cost you between $120,000 and $180,000. Let's split the difference and say $150,000 for one of these vans. Let's see what else you could buy with that $150,000. 1,000 nights at a hotel at $150 a night. You could basically live in a hotel for 3 years. You could fly on an airplane 375 times if the average ticket costs you about $400. You could rent an apartment for about 9.5 years, assuming the average cost of rent is around $1,300 a month, which is the nationwide average according to a lot of sources online. But let's break it down into an actual real-life scenario. Let's say you're a family of 4. You like to go on 2 trips a year, where you fly, spend 5 nights in a hotel, and you eat out every meal. The plane tickets will cost you around $3,200. The hotel will cost you around $1,500 to stay in a hotel room if you all stay in the same room. And your meals will cost you around $1,900, assuming $100 for dinner, $50 for lunch, and $40 for breakfast. That's for all 4 of you, not just each individual person. So 2 trips a year without any of the fun stuff or activities will cost you around $6,600 a year. And you could do this for 18 years for the same price of a van. But that's not taking into consideration some of the other things that you can't measure. Like with a van, you have your own space, you have the freedom to travel whenever you want, you don't have to go to the airport, and you don't have to worry about rental cars. Now, let's look at people who live in a van full time. With the van, you can avoid paying rent and a car payment because your home is also your form of transportation. Let's say your car payment is $500 a month. Rent, we said earlier, was $1,300. So at $1,800 a month, it would take you around 7 years to break even with one of these vans. Now, that's not including the extra money that you would likely save on things like utilities, because with less space, you're probably using less heat and electricity. But with the van, you're also likely using more gas, and you're staying in those state parks and RV parks, which you'll have to pay a little bit of money to stay overnight. So depending on how you use it, it looks like you could save some money living in one of these vans. But everyone that I spoke to for this story says that money shouldn't be the main reason for going out and getting one of these vans. You also need to enjoy it. It needs to fit your lifestyle. Otherwise, you're not going to be happy. And we want everyone to be happy in life, right? If you want to learn more about the van life lifestyle, there are a ton of YouTube channels out there where people share their stories and show you what life on the road is really all about. Now, one thing you should never gamble with is your health. And these days, taking care of yourself is more expensive with rising healthcare costs. Good news is there's a great way to save for that with a health savings account, HSA for short. But recent surveys show around 90% of the people who have HSAs aren't using them to their full potential, leaving money on the table. So we asked certified financial planner Ryan Ankowiak to come and help us out. First of all, can you tell us what exactly is an HSA account?
Yeah, happy to. Health savings accounts, or HSAs, are amazing vehicles. They essentially just allow people to save in a tax-efficient way for healthcare expenses. And that can be something that you do really at any phase of life, when you're young, when you're older. Healthcare expenses are always going to be with us. So having a vehicle specifically designed for that, that's tax favored, is really beneficial.
And I'm a huge fan of these accounts. They're kind of underappreciated by a lot of people. They don't really know a lot about them. One thing that's really cool is that there's triple tax savings here. I mean, you could tell me kind of how people can save money on taxes by using these.
Yeah, absolutely. So with an HSA, you get a tax deduction when you put money into it. It then grows tax deferred, which means you do not pay any taxes on it when it's growing. And then as long as you pull the money out for healthcare expenses, it comes out tax-free. So yes, a triple tax benefit. I would argue it's even better than a Roth IRA because you get that deduction on the front end as well. So very, very powerful.
You don't pay any taxes when it goes in, and you don't pay any taxes when it comes out, and all that growth is tax-free as well.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Again, amazing vehicle. It's becoming more commonplace in employers to have it available to you if you have a high deductible healthcare plan. So if you work for a large company or any company and you have a high deductible healthcare plan, I would be looking into whether or not you have that option available to you. Again, the health savings account. Another thing worth mentioning about HSAs, because I think sometimes there's a little confusion about this, different than a flex spending account. So an HSA is not a use it or lose it account. In fact, as we talked about, it can grow over time. So you don't have the pressure of, well, what am I going to spend this on by the end of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can carry it with you for years and years and years.
And I think that's probably a reason why a lot of people are maybe hesitant, because they feel like if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And that's a really important distinction with this, is that you could literally have it growing for 30, 40 years until retirement if you want to.
That's absolutely right. And you know, as a planner, a lot of the work that I do is helping clients figure out when can I retire, how much can I live on, that sort of thing. And healthcare costs are always the most tricky thing to really get your arms around. So having a vehicle specifically set aside for that can be very, very powerful.
And it's inevitable. Somewhere in your life, you're
Yes.
going to be paying for healthcare costs. I mean, if you have kids, I mean, you're probably going to be using that money the next day.
Right. Yep.
But so it's something that if you're worried about not using it, you're going to use it at some point over your lifetime. That's just the nature of life with healthcare costs.
Yes. And I should also point out, it doesn't necessarily have to be used in retirement. You can use the HSA today. In fact, I set up an HSA when I was about 25 years old. My company offered it. I, at the time, didn't know much about it, but tax deduction, I thought, okay, this makes sense. So I started putting money into it for a few years. Well, when I had my son, it was nice to have a pool of money that I could access to help pay for some of those healthcare costs. So if your goal is to really save it for retirement, maybe you don't use it so much in the earlier years, but they are very flexible. As long as you're using it for a healthcare expense, it counts, and it's tax-free income, or tax-free usage, I should say, for those healthcare expenses. So,
and sometimes you know that a big healthcare bill is coming. Like, you know, we were talking before about having a child. I mean, when I had my third child, I knew it was coming before the year started. So I maxed out my HSA account. And I mean, you can literally save thousands of dollars in taxes every single year. It's like giving yourself a raise by using an HSA.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The way I often explain it with clients, it's no different than, say, if you contributed to a 401k. The monies that you put in there are completely sheltered from income. So easy example, if you have a $100,000 salary, you put $5,000 into an HSA, it's the equivalent of earning $95,000. That $5,000 was not taxed at all, plus it grows, plus you pull it out tax-free. Again, triple tax benefit, like you said. Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that people can spend this money on. It's not just, you know, paying your healthcare bills. We were talking about this before, that, you know, you can pay for, you know, vitamins. You can pay for your prescriptions. You can do other things. There's a lot that people can use this money on.
Yes, that's right. I mean, from Band-Aids to paying for surgeries, I mean, it really is widely available for just about anything. Glasses. You can use it for certain wellness programs. One of the things you brought up when we were talking before is they are underutilized vehicles, but even those who are using it a lot of times don't really realize you could actually invest a portion of the balance. So if you're being long-term oriented, there really can be some benefit there to get that money working for you if you're not really planning on touching it, or maybe minimally touching it as you accumulate. So.
And a lot of surveys show that I think it's like 8 or 9% of people who have HSAs are investing that money. So they're not really taking advantage of that growth that you can get over time. If you know you have healthcare expenses right now and you want to use that money for an HSA, you know, that's up to you. That's your kind of personal decision. But if you do invest it, that can grow. I mean, if you put $1,000 in, by the time you're retired, that could be $6,000, $7,000, $10,000, and all that growth is tax-free.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. One of the things I always encourage people to think about is try to establish good habits. And if you are someone that participates in a 401k, for example, whether you know it or not, you've established some good habits, right? You're putting money into it on a regular, recurring, systematic basis. You're probably not even thinking about it. If your employer or if you have an HSA plan, I would encourage you to do it the same way. Even if it's $50 a month, you do that month over month over month. That's a habit that you pick up, and now you've adjusted the way in which you live your life, and you probably don't even feel it. So 5 years go by, $50 a month for all that time, it really is powerful. And if you invest it, like you said, it can even take off from there. So.
And I know with my account, we just have a debit card that we can kind of use to pay. Is that pretty common with HSAs? Most of the time they have a debit card or a credit card?
Yes, I think that's a pretty standard feature on HSAs at this point. So they're very easy to use. You know, you go to Target or you go to CVS or any other pharmacy, wherever you might, get your medical needs. And just like you would use a credit card, you use a debit card, and you punch in your PIN, and it's all kept track for you, and they even produce a tax document for you. So they make it very, very easy. And again, I just can't speak more about them. I think they're fantastic vehicles. I wish they weren't so underutilized, but hopefully we're spreading that message today, right? So,
but that kind of brings up my next topic here. Is there are some, I wouldn't say negatives, but it's not everyone can have an HSA account. So that's a little bit of a negative. Tell me about how you can actually qualify for one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's if you don't have access to it, that's not necessarily a bad thing. The reason HSAs were developed is to help people pay for high deductible healthcare plans. So that's a key component. If you don't have a high deductible healthcare plan, you may not be eligible for the HSA. But on the other hand, if you don't have a high deductible healthcare plan, then by design, you have a low deductible healthcare plan. So it might be a more robust plan. And if your employer offers it, that's a great source to set it up because they typically will administer the plan, very easy to use, and you're just a participant with all the other employees. That said, there are some employers that don't offer HSAs. So if you are maybe purchasing private insurance or you work for a small employer and you have that high deductible healthcare plan, then you would want to look to set this up outside of your employer. And there's sort of been a proliferation, actually, of companies coming out with HSAs because I think people are starting to realize this is a really useful tool. So a lot of options as it relates to that as well.
And if your employer doesn't offer one, you maybe start a conversation with your manager or your boss and say, hey, I think this could help me. I think this could help my coworkers. It could help you as well. Why not think about doing this?
Yeah, and actually, I should have brought this up. Some employers will actually contribute on your behalf to your HSA. So if you think about that 401k again, maybe you get a match or you get some sort of a contribution. Employers can actually do that right into the HSA as well, so very powerful.
For sure. This is all great stuff. Thank you, so much for helping us break down HSAs, and we're going to help out. I want you to stick around for this next segment because I want to get your take on this, but we're going to be talking about cash stuffing. This is getting really big on TikTok and Instagram right now with New Year's resolutions and people looking for unique ways to save money. Basically, it involves using cash, not credit cards, so you physically see your money and you physically have to hand it out whenever you pay for something. And you use these envelopes to organize your money so you know where every dollar is going. And our friends at WZZM in Grand Rapids, Michigan looked into this, and here's what they found out.
Taking back control of your personal finances, it can be life-changing for you.
A few years ago, that's exactly what Jasmine Taylor decided to do.
I was turning 30 and had a degree, no job, was just struggling, depressed about finances. And January of that year, I told myself, this is my last year living this way. I've got to figure something out.
That something turned out to be cash stuffing. It's nothing new, but has recently gained new popularity thanks to viral videos from online influencers like Jasmine.
Hey y'all, welcome to the channel.
Here's how it works. For every paycheck, subtract what's needed for bills and then cash the rest. You then assign every remaining dollar to an envelope, each one representing the budget for your other expenses. For example, you might have one envelope for your food budget and another for gas.
I'm a big fan of YouTube. I have a YouTube channel myself. So the first thing I do whenever I want to learn something new is type into YouTube whatever the topic is.
Jessie Schaffner of Michigan creates YouTube videos of her own cash stuffing experience.
Love it. Using cash at first was really hard because I think that in this day and age, people just don't use cash.
It is so much easier to go inside of a store and swipe for $100 at Target versus having to actually pull a $100 bill out of your wallet and break it. When you're dealing with the cards, you can keep swiping and keep going until you've put yourself in a hole.
When you run out of cash, you stop spending in that category. I knew that that was something that I needed. Impulse control when it comes to shopping.
My finances have done a complete turnaround. I was never able to save the amounts of money I've been able to save. If you take a chance and it just so happens to help you change your finances, it's completely worth it. It's completely worth it.
So Ryan, now that you've learned a little bit more about cash stuffing, what do you think about this idea here? A good way to budget?
Well, I think it could be a good way to budget for the right person. I think the key with budgeting, regardless of how you do it, whether it's cash stuffing or some other medium, is just really an awareness, right? Where is your money going? And I think if you can put a plan and establish some of those habits, like I talked about, that can be really powerful. I do think cash stuffing definitely heightens your awareness on your spending because, as you mentioned, you physically are handing money out, right? When you're putting money, or if you're paying for something with a credit card, you probably aren't quite as attached to how much you're spending, and you don't necessarily have a finite amount like you would with cash. So I could see it being very valuable for the right person. Certainly takes a lot of discipline, and I would argue would be pretty complex if you're maybe you have a couple and there's two people spending. You know, how do you actually do that? You get an envelope, I get an envelope. It could be a little more complicated that way, but the spirit of it I love, because I think just having that awareness on your spending can be really powerful.
And like you said, there is just something about, you know, physically seeing the cash. You see the number on the bill there. It's a 5, it's a 20. You see it going out. Whereas with the credit card, you just swipe it, you don't. With credit cards, you know, you're getting those perks, those benefits, the 2% or 3% or whatever it might be on your card. And for some people, you can save a lot of money and a lot of points with that. But with this cash stuffing idea, you know, depending on how you budget, you might be better off doing this because you might be saving hundreds of dollars by physically seeing your money. So it's for each person, it's a unique situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that there's awareness being placed on budgeting is good. I mean, I think education around spending and finances is all excellent information that, you know, we really don't learn in school, right? Like some schools are starting to adopt that, and we're looking at that here in Minnesota right now, actually. But you don't learn a lot of these things in school. So having awareness, whether it's on TikTok or here or, you know, the news, whatever, I think it's all good. We can all learn, and again, habits are so important. So
for sure. Well, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you lending your expertise on these topics here.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Here at My Money, we're lucky we have a team of advisors eager to help us out, but we know many of you don't have easy access to someone who can help you with your money questions. So if you have a question for one of our experts, send it our way. You can record a video of yourself, send us a voice message, or just an email and send it to mymoney@kare11.com. Each episode, we'll try to grab one of our experts, ask them a few of these questions, and see if we can help you out. Well, before I mentioned how the pandemic changed the way people live, with some people choosing to live in vans or RVs, well, it also changed the way people buy cars, with Carvana launching their car vending machines and delivering cars right to your front door. The idea was a huge hit at first, with the company jumping into the Fortune 500 list, one of the youngest companies to do it. At one point, the company's stock was trading for $150 a share. Now, it's around $12 a share. It was less than $4 around Christmas. So does this mean that people aren't interested in buying cars the quick and easy way? Are they looking for more service and a salesperson to hold their hand and maybe test drive a few cars? The answer might be down in Denver, Colorado, where KUSA found an 8-story Carvana building that has been completely empty since the day it was built. Check it out.
You can see it from everywhere.
Even on a foggy day, it still snags eyeballs on I-25, though the interest factor in Carvana's giant vending machine may be more about what's not inside these days.
We refer to it as the bubblegum machine for cars. And there it sits, blocking my mountain view.
Next door at the Dirty Duck, they've watched this behemoth grow and sit.
It's empty. You know, we know the Carvana's currently not in the best position business-wise, and we don't know what's going on.
Business-wise, Carvana is on the struggle bus. Shares of stock for the online car dealer have lost 96% of their value in the last year. A company expected to explode during the pandemic is imploding on the other side.
It went from not being able to process enough inventory to having too much inventory and not being able to sell it at what they actually bought it for.
Michael Wayland covers the auto industry for CNBC.
The car vending machine is a really novel idea. It's kind of like having a wacky waving inflatable tube man in front of a dealership or a giant gorilla. It's just a little bit more costly.
Costly indeed. Carvana paid $5.8 million for this plot of land near Evans and I-25. property that had to be rezoned so that Carvana could build 8 stories.
At each stage, the officials on the board or on the council would clearly think it was a little questionable or weird.
Thomas Gownley covered that process for Business Den.
There was definitely skepticism on the planning board and at Denver City Council around, is this, a structure that has a long-term future in Denver?
That approval came a year and a half ago, long before Carvana's financial struggles. For what it's worth, the company told me last week that they still plan on opening their Denver location. In the meantime, people will keep looking up and wondering what could happen to a car vending machine with no cars.
An 8-story bar, that would be interesting. You'd have fantastic mountain views. It would be quite the operation.
Our friends down at KUSA recently discovered that a few cars have now shown up inside that building, but no word yet on if the location will actually open for business. I guess we'll have to wait and see how things play out down in Denver. But this story really got me thinking about the way we buy vehicles. While some are ready to buy a car online and have it delivered straight to their home, others want to see the cars in person, go on a few test drives, haggle with a salesperson, and do it the old-fashioned way. Let us know what you think about this down in the comments section if you're watching this episode on YouTube. All right, that's going to do it for us on this episode of the My Money Show. As always, if you have an idea for a segment or have a question about your money, send us an email at mymoney@kare11.com. Until next time, I'm Gordon Severson, helping you save, spend, and invest your money wisely. We'll see you later.